What's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. The football season is back, and Arsenal got off to a winning start yesterday. We're here to discuss that. And with us, myself and Lee Judges, is Kenny Ken. Kenny, how you doing, bro?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Like I said, it started off quite catastrophic in terms of fans not being able to get in a ground. Well, one fan got in, didn't they, Lee? Yeah. I mean, all of us struggling, getting crushed. The amount of people, who think that their problems are more important than others. I mean, you had a woman and her mate pushing through people because she said she had a panic attack. I said, okay. There was about 5 people, women, who were getting crushed and having panic attacks, but they carried on because they knew we were all in the same boat. And then you had one bloke trying to get his kid in because he's getting crushed, but there was other people getting crushed. I mean, it just shows you whenever there's a crisis, it's every man for himself. And then I had the crucifix. That's what I call him, the crucifix. It was like that. He wasn't bothered that we're all getting crushed behind him, especially when he had a bit of space for us to breathe. Oh no, he's probably the slowest mover ever. So thank God, we got in the ground, and thank God for the club delaying kickoff, because they didn't delay kickoff. Oh my days, there'd have been injuries there because it was just ridiculous.
Lee, it was a shambles, mate. I got in there at 11:30. I got in there really early. I said to my dad, "Let's get there early, yeah, because this is going to be absolute chaos." And I was right, but I was wrong in a way. I thought it'd be pretty poor getting in. It was absolutely catastrophically, terribly shambolic. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I was in the ground, and it all gone quiet. And then they said, "Oh, the turnstiles are busted. The system's gone down. 40,000 people trying to get in. 12:15 for half 12 kickoff. We're delaying it by half hour." And that kind of killed the mood for a lot of people. Now, some of the people in the ground were fine because obviously they just went and got another beer at the bar. Unfortunately, if you weren't in the ground, that is stressful. That ruins the start of your day. And you just pray that the right arse will turn up. And, before we get into the game, Lee, next time we go to the Emirates, that's got to be sorted, isn't it?
100%, it's got to be sorted. It was carnage. It was carnage. I was like, where we was lucky to get in. Like when I got there, I thought, what the hell's going on here? And you just couldn't move around the ground. You just couldn't move. It was just like chaos. And they just said like, the turnstiles have gone down. And I think, But then I put on a message to the group that I'm in, and they was all saying it was the same. It was the same. In the end, they was letting people go. Like I never showed. I just showed my thing on my phone. Now, if you wanted to get into that game yesterday, you could have actually just took a Photoshop of a ticket and just walked straight in. There was no way did they let those turnstiles were active. They just let people go through on the so-say of a phone. For me, it's the same old thing. Like there was nothing wrong with a good old card. You know what I mean? Like to get yourself through, get yourself in. Don't change if it's not busted. I don't understand why it was. Now, listen, I spoke to a fella, and I'm going to have to bring it up today because he brought it up when I was getting on the train to go home. He said, "Lee, have a word on your shows and whatever." He said, "I went into the Arsenal shop about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and bought a card holder from a season ticket. They charged you £20. No one turned around and said, you don't need them no more."
Sorry.
£20.
Oh my God! Is that for real?
That's
wrong.
A disgrace. It's a disgrace. You know what I mean? So at the end of it,
oh my God!
Carnage. So we got in, and then when I went upstairs and I see what I see Kenny. Then I was that below me, and me and Kenny walked into the ground together. So from where I was, I probably got in half hour before Kenny, but it was not on. And listen, guys, I can tell this is information I received from a reliable source. They had to play that game at 1 o'clock. They had to start that game at 1 o'clock because of the 3 o'clock kickoffs and things like that. So if they, if they would have gone by the rules and there would have been carnage because that game wouldn't have gone. There's no way that they give Arsenal credit. They realised there was a problem and they just were letting people in. But honestly, you could have got in for nothing on that game yesterday. It was an absolute farce. And I think realistically, it affected the atmosphere a little bit yesterday, Dan. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, no, we're manually letting people in the end, Kenny. It was like, do you know what? I was going to ring my mates up and say they want to come and watch a game of football.
No, it did. Our end, it was a case where, you had stewards who were trying to let people in, not everyone going in at once. He was still holding it up. And then what happened is you had to put the back of your phone and then the green light flashed up. There was one bloke who had his phone and he just forgot to, I think, to charge it because he was holding everything up. But it was one of those things where they had the Emirates Cup the week before. Don't you think that would be the time to actually use that as a test event rather than wait for the first game of the season that is televised all over the world? And let's not forget, TNT Sports were televising it. I saw people from NBC as well. That's farcical. When I was coming to ground, I could see like Jan Fortsov, he was doing it for from German TV, ESPN. So everyone was there. So it's not a good look on the football club as such. But again, hopefully things be a lot better in 2 weeks time. The end of the day, the thing to blame is that it's all about trying to get members in only and to stop the touts. So all you people who go on social media and start moaning about not getting tickets and start complaining about the club not getting your fair allocation of aways, the club will listen to what you've got to say, and they're going to come out with things like this because they want to make sure the right people get in the ground. So you can't have it both ways. Sometimes, you don't, always get your own way in the ballot, and there's always going to be people who are going to have more than one season ticket, and they're going to distribute amongst their friends. So it's one of the things where, we're in a digital age now, like everything's paperless. So, we just have to.
The thing is, this has been going on for years. You know what I mean? Like I'm a real. It does annoy me. Like with my season ticket, it's my season ticket. If I want to give it to my mate or my brother or whoever, or Dan or you or whatever, then I feel I've got the right to do that. Like I don't think I should be going through giving it to people. And the one thing I think you should be allowed, you shouldn't be allowed to pay over the odds. I spoke to a fella yesterday who was offered £100 for a ticket yesterday. He wanted to get a ticket and he said he'd been offered £100. So this digital thing doesn't work because there you are. They're still being given, there's still...
You can't beat the Lee, you can't beat the tats. You cannot beat the tats. I'm sorry to say it. As much as you think you can beat the tats, they are one step ahead of the clubs. And
so what it does is it doesn't affect the touts, right? But what it does affect is the actual genuine Arsenal fans,
Let me say this, Lee. Let me say this. I saw ticket touts yesterday, so it ain't stopped that, right? What it's done, in fact, is it's mugged people like us off. Because if we can't go to a game, if we're unwell or we're ill, they want you to send it back to the ticket exchange. That's what they want. So they make it impossible for you to start passing it around, start sending it across. I don't know if any of you have done it yet, but my God, it is a pain in the arse. There's no way this system is better. They've made it very, very difficult for the going fan so that if you can't get your ticket, sorry, Dad, can't give it to you. It's got to go back on the ticket exchange because it takes about 4 hours to pass it over to you. It's just a madness. Now, obviously, people will get used to it, and those that are tech savvy will do it in seconds. But those that aren't tech savvy, it takes a while, and it's changed and it's new. And that's the problem. So people that aren't tech savvy just go, actually, bollocks to it. I have to give it back to the ticket exchange. I don't even know how to hand it to me mate. And this has just got silly now. The other thing I'll say on it, Kenny brings up a good point about how we should have trialled this before the first game of the season. Newcastle at St James's Park have changed to exactly the same system as ours, right? They had zero problems yesterday because they trialled it 3 weeks previously and it all worked and it was fine. So Arsenal, yet again, have let themselves down. It's actually quite embarrassing from the club, as far as I'm concerned, to have 40,000 people outside the stadium 10 minutes before the kickoff. Now, I understand that people want to sit in the pubs and all that sort of thing. I got in there early because I predicted it to be chaos. But not everybody does. Not everybody can do that. Some people have got plans in the day. They want to get there on the kickoff. Some people get stuck in traffic or the trains are late or the buses are late and they get delayed. That can't happen again. So for me, when we go to Fulham next, I think it's Fulham next, when we go there, if that happens again, people are going to have to start putting in complaints if they haven't already to the club because that is an absolute shambles and can, like Kenny has said, cause stress and anxiety for individuals that suffer with that. And I hope the individual's all right because it's a mess.
The other thing, Dan, is, you've got this stupid rule now, which I don't know if it's stupid. I kind of like it to a certain degree. If you don't go to 5 games, you can have your ticket taken away from you. Well, I've got no proof that I went in that game. And so
Exactly.
I'm one game down now.
Oh no! It flashes up because if you got a season ticket, they actually send you something to say, oh yeah, an indicator. They send you the next.
Yeah, but you haven't
ticket.
put it through. I didn't have nothing to. All I done was show my ticket yesterday. So
Yeah.
like, there's no evidence that I went through in that.
Do you have one of those Arsenal rewards? From the Arsenal rewards, it tells you how many points you get because every time you turn up to a match, you get extra points that go onto your.
Yeah, well, I reckon they'll give everybody.
They'll have to give everyone a go for this one because it.
Yeah,
they're
going to have to let it go. Listen, I'll put
it.
an email in straight away, like, you know what I mean, complaining about it like that. Listen, I'm going to be really honest. While we're complaining here, like I went to had a box at the Emirates, you know what I mean, like invited into a box for the game. 250 now. I didn't have to pay this, it's £250 it was, right? And the food was a hot dog and chips.
No way.
A hot
Hang
dog
on, for 250 quid. 250 quid. I'll be expecting like roast.
Chips, boy, like, yeah, I mean, like with a tomato.
Steak Diane.
Other clubs, you have a roast with
roast dinner or something like that. It was,
listen, sauce, all those things. You know what I mean?
I've gone to hospitality a few times and all that. The food has always been pucker, been class. You know what I mean? But I've got a hot dog and chips.
Hey.
And that's what it was. For me,
Lee, don't complain. That's football fan food, isn't it?
But for me, I'm thinking myself,
is it?
You know, I mean, I'm thinking myself, well, I ain't be so off me. But there were
Lee's fussy anyway. Don't. It would have given Sat. He's fussy. Fussy, see, I know. What are you moaning about? Hot dog and chips is right up your street, mate.
Well, listen, for me, you know what I mean. It weren't a great sausage roll and chips as well, like, I mean, hot dog and chips. It weren't. But the fact is, there were a lot of people arguing, going, look, I've spent a lot of money for this. You know, there was one couple. There was his mum and son. She treated him for his birthday, so it's £500 for an hot dog and chips and a couple of cans of Coke. You know what I mean? Unbelievable.
Wow.
But anyway, that's another story.
Listen, that's getting in the ground. Once we were in the ground and it was delayed, I see Kenny, I see all of the lads. We were all buzzing for the start of the new season, and the lineup come out, and I can't lie, Lee, I was completely and utterly. Shocked and stunned at some of the decision making by the lineup. Fillet of fish.
I would put an email in, Steve, if it was a fillet of fish. I'll tell you that.
Fillet of fish. But yeah, the lineup, Lee. I'll come to you and Kenny on this. I was shocked, mate, because I couldn't quite work it out. I thought, is this going to be 3 at the back? Is this 4 at the back with Partey at right back? Are we seeing Havertz and Eddie in a 2 up top? What the hell's going on? This is Forest, not Man City that we're trying to set up a 3 at the back against. Very, very confused. But I suppose in the first half, it kind of worked. We had all the possession. But very, very surprising. All over the place. In and out of possession. Ben White playing right back, then back into centre. Partey at right back, then moving up into midfield. I couldn't work out what I was seeing. Sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do you know what I mean? Just play 4-3-3 and go for it. But what the hell were we doing here? This was a weird one for me.
Dan, he got lucky. I don't care about people turn around and say it works. He got lucky. You know what I mean? Should have been 1-0 down after 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Clean through on goal. I'll tell you, I've watched it back. Aaron Ramsdale needs to take a lot of credit off his line. Very, very sharp. Didn't realise that and forced him to make that chance. But against the Man City, against a good side, you will get beat. He got caught out of position a few times Partey in the first half. It come back to bite him in the second. Pushed the ball past him. He's not that. This is a player that dominates midfield. I've been getting arguments and pelters about this because I said before the game I weren't happy with it. So it's not hindsight and everything like that. It's before the game. And I'll tell you my reason why I think that it was, right? Because Mr. Arteta and whoever has spent £65 million on Kai Havertz, right? And that means he had to find a way of playing him now. To get him in that team yesterday, that was to do it. Because realistically, what should have happened is that the team should have been Ben White at right back, central defences of Gabriel and Saliba, and the left back, Timber, Tierney, whoever you want on that side, like, you know what I mean? Like, Timber, not got a problem with it. Like, played it against Manchester City. Right, okay. All of a sudden now he wants to get Eddie in the side. So he's going to put Eddie up front, like. So that means that he had to leave Kai Havertz out of that team, unless he done what he done. You know, listen, Kai Havertz didn't have a bad game. I thought he done okay. But for me, it was catering at the highest level, and it nearly cost us. So for me, I'm going to say it now. I think we were lucky yesterday with that team selection. I don't think it worked, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what team you played, right? What formation or what team you played, we would have dominated that game because they played the way that they played, Dan. Like, yeah. So you could have had whoever you wanted there. Now you go back in it. I've been watching it today. How many clear-cut chances did we create? How many clear-cut chances did we create? Not many. I don't think there was one. Great bit of skill from Martinelli. I've watched that back. He got a little bit fortunate towards the end of it, but it was a great bit of interventional skill that got him through. And then I'm going to say that Eddie done very, very well to take his chance. Then the Saka magic. Tell me after that or before that when we had a clear-cut chance. I don't remember it. I didn't see it. In the second half, we had a couple more half chances. You know, Turner made a couple of decent saves, made a very, very good save from out of the box from Declan Rice. Clear-cut chances. When did we work them? When did we open them up? When did we get in one-on-ones in them from 6 yards? We didn't all game. So that tactic and that way that we played did not work, even though we was 2-0 up. Because I think if we'd have played with a normal back four, we'd have probably still had the same outcome. The free-flowing football wasn't there. Thomas Partey dominates midfields. I watched him dominate a midfield all season last season. I don't see him dominating it from right back, right, you know. And that's where I'm going to be. That we was very, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. It wasn't a very good performance. And in the end, we was hanging on. And in the end, he had to change it because I tell you what, Nottingham Forest went for it. But I tell you what, if Nottingham Forest, I think at the end of the day, they're kicking themselves today, Nottingham Forest. They didn't do it 20 minutes earlier, because if they'd done it 20 minutes earlier, we would be on either 1 point or no point. So for me, you got away with it. And at the end of the day, what it does matter, and this before everybody says, oh, you're being negative and everything like that. Yeah, we got the 3 points. Fantastic. It's more, you know, I'll say this now. I'd rather have us play like that and play free-flowing football and lose 3-1 or whatever like we have done in the past. So at the end of the day, we've got the result and that we move on. But I tell you this now, if this continues to happen, Arsenal will not be where we want them to be at the end of the season.
Listen, facts and true words. Kenny, what's his obsession with Partey at right back? I don't get this at all. He's one of the best holding midfielders that I've seen in the last few years. He's definitely one of the best in the league. And when you're taking him out of that position and putting him at right back, not only does it weaken in the middle, but it kind of weakens your right back because he ain't a right back. Now, I thought Declan Rice was outstanding yesterday. I thought he's one of our best players. But I don't really understand what Mikel Arteta was thinking there. It worked in the first half in terms of our possession football. We went 2-0 up, happy days. Second half, it went a pot, and I don't really understand why we didn't just revert back to that 4-3-3. I expected to see Gabriel and Trossard a lot earlier, and I thought they were going to start. For me, they both would have started. Trossard would have been up top, and Gabriel in the centre. Havertz and Eddie would have been out the side. But it was a bit of a strange one yesterday, and this Partey obsession putting him at right back, it ain't working, Kenny. It's poor.
Well, I see what you mean, but you got to remember, when we looked at the game, as I said to you guys on your show yesterday, we looked like a team that had 3 debutants in the side. As much as we praise Declan Rice's performance, let's not forget that the person who's better in that position, as probably one of the best DMs, is actually Thomas Partey. So he's taken Thomas Partey out of his position to fit Declan Rice in the position he was playing for West Ham, where if you spend £150 million on a player, you would have thought that he occupied the Granit Xhaka's position. Then you've got a situation with Kai Havertz at £65 million. It's a case where you would have thought he would have taken open goal and played them up front like he did in the Community Shield, but he didn't, because obviously, as he said, he wanted to fit Eddie in. So that's another one you're trying to fit in the side. And then the biggest elephant for me is that everyone talks about Thomas Partey playing right back. I think the biggest concern was the fact that Gabriel, who was our best performing centre half,
Yeah.
despite my criticism initially during the season, last season, wasn't selected, which means if you take away the Thomas Partey thing, the common denominator last season and the common denominator, first game of the season is it seems that he seems to feel that he's got to find a place for Benjamin White at the team at all costs. Logically, our best centre half pairing is Saliba and Gabriel. It's a case of where if you have like one of the commandments in football and you want the 11th commandment of football and revert it to Arsenal, you don't break up your centre half partnership. He's broken it up and to fit Benjamin White at centre half, a position where we all can say maybe not unanimously, but the majority of us can say he struggled in last season. He struggled in when we played in a back four, and he struggled when we played a back five. We found a position for him at right back, but the problem is when everyone's fit, where do you find a place for Declan Rice? Because Timber can play right back and centre half. But we're playing him at left back because he's a better defender and he can play that inverted role. But his position is that position. Then, because when Shevchenko's back, from a defensive point of view, he's terrible. But from the attacking point of view, Arteta needs him because Arteta wants to play that inverted role where where we're always in possession, we're always in the attack. So you're probably going to play Timber on the right. So for me, it's the conundrum is the Benjamin White conundrum for me. But in terms of his tactics, I didn't understand. I don't like it. I don't like Thomas Partey playing out of position. I think if Thomas Partey doesn't play at DM, he's out of position. I think that the formation that I was expecting was Declan Rice to play further forward like he did at Wembley last week, and then maybe Eddie would be sacrificed, and maybe you might have play Kai Havertz up top, because I understand where the manager's coming from. Believe it or not, I'm not a fan of him, but if you pay £65 million for a play, you have to find a place for him. But the problem is, our next few games are probably going to be a bit like that because you're trying to fit 3 players into the team, although one of them's got a knock. But invariably, you're going to have to shoehorn them all into the team. They have to get used to their teammates. They've got to get used to the positions that they have to take in the pitch or where their teammates are. So we're going to carry these players. We're going to carry them next week against Palace and the last 3 games. So we've got to negotiate carrying these players so they can learn on the job, because the best place to learn on the job is on the pitch, and then see if we get the results, because we need to replicate what we did last season. We know first 5 games, or we can't challenge. But, Arteta too clever for his own good and was probably enslaved to the fact that he spent big money on his signings, which meant he had to ensure that that those signings fill their way in the team, and at the cost of our shape. And we were very lopsided. And Lee's right. Nottingham Forest didn't show much ambition in the first half, but in the second half, one of the things we went wrong was that we lacked the intensity. You think about it; those 2 goals were created because we upped the tempo. Our intensity was really high. We basically won the ball back for both those goals, and then scored some great goals. You look at Saliba; he won the ball back from I think it was from Gibbs White. Wins the ball back, gives it to Saka, bang, 2-0. Initially before that, Gabriel Martinelli wins the ball back. Nice bit of intensity, pass the ball to Eddie, boom, 1-0. So we only played well when we upped the intensity. But when we don't up the intensity and play slow, it gave Forest an end into the game.
Listen, Lee, let me ask you a serious, concerning question for me. We're going to get on some positives in a minute because we won the game and there was some unbelievable individual pieces of skill which allowed us to do so. But Lee, what is going to concern me is if this continues. And what I mean by if this continues is I haven't seen Arsenal's first 11 yet this season. Best 11 yet this season. Now, some of that's to do with Jesus and Zinchenko not playing football, right? But actually, when we've had the opportunity to put our best 11 out there, we've not done it yet. I don't think it was our best 11 against Man City. I saw Trossard on the bench. I've seen Trossard and Gabriel on the bench this game. At the pre-season games, I saw rotation. Now, I'm all for rotation throughout the season to try and compete with all 4 competitions. But game 1 against Forest, I'm seeing it all over the place. I haven't felt like we've been balanced throughout the whole of this pre-season. And I can understand why a lot of people yesterday were speaking to me and saying, I'm a little bit pessimistic as to what I was last season. Don't quite look the same Arsenal for me. Now, I understand we've got some new players and stuff like that. But why is it that we're not actually seeing a 4-3-3 best team at the moment, Lee? Or are we going to see that against Palace, do you think?
Well, listen, if you don't, we're going to get beat. It's as simple as that. We're going to get found out. I'll argue a question here, like, when we talk about things and all that. Let's talk about Trossard. If he'd have paid 60 million for him, do you think he'd be in where he is now?
Good point.
I don't think he will be. I don't think that he will be. Let's have a look at Trossard, right? And people are saying, right, where he's going to, he should be in the side. I think, on form, I'll probably say, so where are you actually going to play him? Because I've seen people on Twitter, I've seen people on Instagram, I've seen people even comment about it. Oh, yeah, I'll play him on the left-hand side in place of Martinelli. After what I see in a proper game on Saturday, no way does Martinelli get taken out of this team, and nor does Saka. So he can't play on the flanks, right, on a regular basis. So he
plays up top for me, Trossard.
The only position that he can play is in front of Eddie, that is it, or Havertz, you know what I mean? But when it comes to last week, he chose Havertz. When it comes to this week, he chose Eddie. Now, Eddie's got a lot of criticism again, everybody's saying oh, well, he should come in place of Eddie. I think, me and you, Dan, would probably say that he probably should have. And I've heard people turn around, and yesterday in the pub having a beer and turn around and said, yeah, all Eddie done was score a goal. That's all he done. He didn't do nothing else other than that he scored a goal. So at the end of the season, if he'd done that every single game and gets 38 goals, right, what would people be saying?
No, but Lee, this is the problem.
No, let me out. That is a fit. He's there to score goals, and that's what he's done. But I know what you're going to say. There's more to the game than all of that, which is true. And this is the problem we've got. I'm going to say it now with Eddie, right? I don't think we look at our best I don't think he gets the best out of all the players in and around him, because we're very, very interchangeable, move around very, very quickly, move sharply and everything like that. It falls a little bit short with Eddie. Eddie hasn't got that to his game. And I think that is the problem. For me, I would go, but you've got the problem now. What you got, Dan, is that Eddie's come in and scored. That's what he's there to do. And by the way, took his goal very, very well. Before anybody starts going on about Eddie and criticising, that was a very, very good finish yesterday. So I'll give him that. But for me, where are you going to play Trossard? Where are you going to play him? That is the argument that you have. I'm a big fan of his. I thought we come on yesterday and done really, really well. But this is the problem.
The problem I've got with this, let me come in with this, Lee. The problem I've got with this is this. Trossard's pre-season was phenomenal, right? Best player by far. What's his reward? Sits on the bench every game. Not only is he now not ahead of Martinelli, some people say rightly so, I love Martinelli. He's not ahead of Saka, fair enough, rightly so. He's behind Havertz and Eddie now, and he's had a brilliant pre-season. Now we say Eddie scores. He does. He scores goals. He scored one in the Emirates Cup and he scored the other day. When he does score, we don't need another centre-forward because we've got Eddie. When he don't score, in a few games' time, when he's gone 3-4 games without a goal, because he will do that, everyone will go, maybe we needed a centre-forward. That's the problem with Eddie, because what he does is he does come on and he gives you a score. I'm fine with Eddie and Nketiah being in the squad, by the way. No problem with Eddie and Nketiah being in the squad. What I don't want is him starting every week while Jesus is out, because for me, I think he lacks a lot more than what Jesus brings. And I think Trossard, you see it when he comes on, straight away lights up the game. He links up play, so much more flair, so much better with his feet than Eddie. I think he's all round better than Eddie Nketiah. And whether you think Eddie's better or Trossard's better, that's not really the argument for me. Who deserves to start right now, in your eyes? I think Trossard does, because I've seen what he does. In the March Player of the Month, he gets dropped for April and May. No idea why. Jesus comes back in. That's apparently why. Then he goes on pre-season, by far our best player. Scores against Barcelona, unbelievable, unplayable against Barcelona, who everyone said was the best pre-season game. What's his reward? Doesn't get to play the next game. Then we go to the Community Shield at Wembley. Surely he's there. Jesus is out. Trossard will definitely play up top. Havertz plays. What's his reward? He comes on. Who scored? Oh, Trossard. So now you've just scored again. So the following week, what's your reward? You're on the bench again. I don't get this. This is mad. For me, he's getting the Kieran Tierney treatment now. It's like, I just don't like him, so I'm just going to keep him on the bench. It's just a weird thing. I don't get it.
Dane, sorry to cut him, but I think the Kieran Tierney thing is something that probably we might deal with in the show, because I think we'll probably get snookered if we find out the reason why Kieran Tierney can't get a game. But in terms of Trossard, going back to Eddie, Lee, I agree with you that he scored, but you've got to remember he was part of the problem in the second half. He was part of that lack of intensity. He was knackered. He wasn't closing down. He wasn't harrying his closing down the goalkeeper. He wasn't harrying defenders. Hence the fact he got hooked in the 72nd minute because he was ineffective. And that's the problem. The only time Eddie's had a really all-round 90-minute game was probably Man United in January. And that's one of the reasons why Eddie does play on the bench. Is because when he comes on, he ups the intensity, but he hasn't proved to be able to do that for 90 minutes. That's why he does get criticised and deserves to get criticised, because it's two ways. If we played with the same intensity in the second half we did in the first half, and Eddie was part of that situation, we win that game comfortably, but we didn't. Because from the front, he's not producing the same work rate as a Jesus would do from the front, i.e. be the third defender. He wasn't doing that. And then in terms of like I said, creating problems for defence, he didn't do that. That's why he's a sub. That's why we call him second half. I call him one half Eddie, or great coming. In terms of Trossard's biggest problem is Martinelli. The form of Martinelli is just phenomenal. I think towards maybe after Christmas, he was off form a little bit. I think people were beginning to work him out, and then after February, March, Martinelli came back in the fold again. So it's a case where he isn't exactly undroppable, but his form is just and his potential is just way up there. So the next cabinet rank is the false number 9, where I think Trossard can perform admirably, and I think he will get us goals. But again, the problem we have with the false number 9 is that if you play the false number 9, Man City have shown that that's not going to win your league. You're going to need a 20 goal or 25 goal season striker. So that leaves Trossard a problem, because let's face it, if you look at Arsenal's tactics in terms of like our attacks, everything goes through Saka. My motto under Arteta is give the ball to Saka and win the game, and it hasn't changed. He never drops him. He never rotates him. So it's going to be really, really hard for Trossard. And I think Arteta's got a man management issue, because I always said if you want to win big trophies, the most important players are people like Trossard, who don't always play all the time. Because if he gets the ump and chucks a mental, that can affect the whole squad. So that is something that Arteta's got to look at, because you're right, he's done nothing wrong. He hasn't played badly since he plays. In fact, as you said, games when he's been man of the match. But it's a situation now where Arteta has to make a decision. He has to go by performance and not go by the price tag. But that's what happens with managers all the time.
Kenny,
they always go by price tag, and it's not if they're not under pressure from the fans to play the big name signing. They get pressure from the board to pay the big name signing.
Exactly.
So that's an issue.
I'm with you on that. Like, I mean, if we'd have paid, I'm telling you this now, and you might think I'm stupid when I say this. If Trossard was a 50, 60 million pound player, this wouldn't be happening to him. I really do. I do.
But Eddie weren't, was he? Eddie weren't 70 million. So what's all this?
No, but Eddie ain't going to play all the time neither. Dan, you know what I mean? Like, at the end.
I expect him to get dropped next time because he scored the goal like Trossard did. He got dropped after scoring. So will Eddie get dropped after scoring?
But you know what you say. Eddie started 2 games and scored 2 goals. You know what I mean? Like, Trossard is the same. Trossard comes off the bench and I think does really, really well. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, Dan. I'm just trying to say how it is. Like Eddie's come on, he scored the goal. We're 1-0 up. I think it's great. As I say, great bit of skill from Martinelli. I do agree with Kenny. His problem is that he's got Martinelli in there, but I think that they share that role. I had to say yesterday, I thought yesterday Martinelli was absolutely the man. Yesterday, I thought he was fantastic.
Unreal.
He was just awesome. But I'm looking at because I don't know if you guys do it when you're watching the game. I play manager and say
we all do. We all play manager.
Say who he's going to bring off, who he's going to be up. And I said, he's going to take Eddie off. The next man to come off for me was Saka. I thought he was very, very tired towards the end. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But as Kenny said,
what it's like. Look, what it is with Saka. The thing with Saka, and I think sometimes in our subconscious we don't admit it, and I think sometimes we find ourselves agreeing with a manager. Is that the thing with Saka? Is that despite all the things you say about Martinelli, he's got fantastic potential. You know, like on his day, he's brilliant. You know, bloody what a great bit of skill. But there's always something in the back of your mind with Saka. He still is the only player I can think of who can unlock it, who can just one bit of skill, one bit of magic can lock a defence, whether he's having a poor game or not. He gets on down that right wing. He cuts in. He's either scoring a goal, creating a chance, or he's drawing a foul. And he's just got that ability where he can create 100%. Something out of nothing. He's still our most potent attacker. He's more potent in terms of like
we're in terms
of Jesus and all of that. And that's the thing. You always think with Saka, tight defences, that guy can open things up, and he's done it time and time again in the last 3 seasons. That's why you can't drop him. You can't rotate him. That's the problem.
No, I agree to a certain degree that we can't. Even at 2-0, you know, you want to keep him on and all that. But I even think if we were 3-0, 4-0 up, Ken, he probably wouldn't take him off. I don't know.
Right, you know, he's not. No, Saka plays, but all the time. Saka's his.
Yeah, he does, and that's wrong.
He's wrong. I would actually say, like, you know, give him a break. But at this moment in time, probably don't need to. But it will come.
It's the same with Pep and Sterling, though. When when Pep first went to Man City, we all thought like. Collectively, that Sterling would probably be a casualty. We never realised that Joe can't be a casualty because that was his pet project, and I think it's the same thing with Saka. That, but Arteta's pet project is Bukayo Saka. He feels that guy is going to win me trophies. He's going to win me the league because he's the only person who can open up defences, and he's proved that. Martinelli can do that on his day, but on a consistent basis. That I'm just thinking like the manager thinks, you know. And for some reason, I find myself agreeing with it because I look at remember the Crystal Palace game when Saka didn't play and Trossard went down the right, and it's like, we won the game 4-1, but it still looked like lopsided. It didn't look right without Saka on that right hand side.
No, look, listen, you're talking about a world class player. I think he's potentially going to be like, you know, and it does really. Makes me laugh when people turn around and go, "Oh, we haven't got an adequate replacement for him. The drop off is too big." Yeah, it is. You know, there ain't many Sakas about in this world. We're lucky to have it, like, you know what I mean. And to get a player, boys, to come in and go right, say a wide right player. I don't know who, like top class wide right player. Where am I going to play? Or are you going to be back up to Saka? Well, I ain't going to get many games in, am I? You know what I mean? Like, because he's that good. You know, I'll tell you what else he is. He's durable. He's a very, very, you know, I think he's a fantastic player. And I'm not having a go at when Mikel keeps him that side of it at all. It's very hard. My argument is going back to the Trossard thing is it's very, very hard to get him into this team. I'll be honest, when Jesus is fit, you know, for me, he has to come back straight away. Like, even though, which Dan makes a fantastic point, you know what I mean? Like, that he was doing okay with before Jesus come back in. Actually, if to be really honest about it, the team form dipped a little bit. Nothing to do with Jesus. It was just the way it was. But for me, I think that Trossard's very, very important with it. I think that with Trossard, he'd be very, very important come Champions League games when he'll play a Champions League game or he'll play a Premier League game. I think it's here and now is a little bit of a problem for Arteta. I think, like, trying to keep people happy and all that. If someone told me a stat today that was the 73rd consecutive game that Gabriel played, and he left him out on the first opening game of the season. What that is, if that is true, I don't know if that is true, but if that is true, that's an incredible bold move to do that in the first game of the season. You know what I mean?
Where did that come from, by the way? Did he have a knock or something, Gabriel?
No, it was a coward's move. It was like manager. It was like who's the person who's going to take disappointment the worst. You know, we all do it. If you've been a boss of like a project, or you've been like a supervisor like I am, you all subconsciously you think, right, I can't give him the bad news because he's going to give me a real hard time. He's going to go blah blah blah. This one will be able to take it, and I think that's the situation with Gabriel. It made no sense for it to be left out of the side because of that centre back partnership, which we were all waiting for. When Gabriel first signed about 3 years ago, the Holy Grail was him and Saliba together, and we finally got that last season. So again, I say it once, say it 1,000 times. maybe I'm being hard on Benjamin White, and I'm sorry I'm being hard on Benjamin White, but at the end of the day, I'm in the results business. I couldn't care less about the players and their feelings. All I want to do is have a team that can challenge for the league and win trophies. And if there's someone better in that position, I'm all for them being bombed out of the team. Benjamin White has to play no matter what in that back four. The evidence states that. You won't have to look all of last season, and you have to look the season before. He was signed because he can play at a variety of positions. So that tells me if they are going to make any changes in that team and shuffle people around, yeah, by all means take Benjamin White at right back, but as long as you can find a place from the centre half.
Do you know what, Ken? Right, I'm going to be really honest with you, like, you know what I mean. People say, like, you know, it's the first game and whatever. Like, we're talking about one game of football and what was right and what was wrong about it. Not whatever it's going to be, where it is going to at the end of the season. This game in particular, right? Now, where was the balance of we've got to have left-sided defenders in the team then? Because if you really look at it, Benjamin White right-footed, Saliba right-footed, Timber right-footed, right? Partey right-footed. We did not have one left-footed player in that back four.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Right? So don't tell me it's one game. Don't worry about it. Come back to me and say, oh, yeah, it's 3 points. Come back to me and explain to me why we had a back four with all right-footed players when all through the season, with last season and the season before that, I have to have left-footed players to balance my team up. So where is the thing in there? Is it because Ben White was 50 million and I spent 50 million on him? I spent money on whatever. You can't leave Saliba out because he's so good. I want to know why. Forget about the result. Forget about it's not a meltdown. No one's saying it's a meltdown. It's not a meltdown. It's a discussion. Let's get this right. I can't stand it when people turn around and say you're melting down and all that. Because I tell you what, if you're happy with Saturday's result, and fine. But I'm telling you, don't come back to me in 6 weeks' time when we're 5th, 6th in the league, going, oh, we've done this and done that. When you win games, you can still correct things. You know what I mean? Like, don't wait until the horse has bolted before you make changes. You know, look at it and deal with it now. Like, not one left-sided player in that back four, right? So don't ever come on to me about, oh, well, you need balance. That's why he plays so-and-so there or he's so-and-so there now. Because that's a load of crap. Can we get that straight?
Listen, I think what you're saying is right, Lee, and I feel personally there will be people that say we won, move on, but it was Forest, and I expected to win, and I expected to win convincingly, and unfortunately it wasn't convincing. And I got to ask you, Ken, going into the next game, are we going to see a similar lineup, or are we going to actually go back? Because for me, Forest playing this 6-3-1 or whatever it was in the end that people were talking about, that was why I thought Arteta looked at that and thought, wow, we're going to have to do something here because they're going to go low block. So let's play this. So I actually agree with a lot of what Lee said in relation to Havertz and Eddie and forcing people inside and stuff like that. But there is no excuses for me when I see the Palace side of 4-3-3 to go 4-3-3, match them with quality and beat them. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting Gabriel to come back in the side because he came on the other day. So there's nothing wrong with him. I'm expecting Trossard to start.
Back in the side.
For me, it's got to be a 4-3-3, Partey, Rice, Ødegaard, and I want to see Saka, Trossard and Martinelli as a front three. That's what I want to see. But what do you think is going to happen next game?
Well, we think you're going to look at the situation with Palace. You know that at home, Palace are going to play like they're definitely going to go 4-3-3. They're going to play, you know, they won't be playing Nketiah because he's trying to leave the club. So they're going to play Osman, Edouard up top, and then you're going to have Ayew running off him, and then Dan, and then you're going to have a little bit behind him. You're going to have Eze. So in terms of that little threat, he's going to have those two centre halves. He's going to have Gabriel to deal with the physicality of Osman, Edouard, and obviously Saliba to deal with like the quick feet of Ayew. So again, he's not going to disrupt that. He's probably got a bit of a bye because Timber won't be ready then. So his issue is who he's going to play at the left back. I could tell you categorically, it's not going to be Kieran Tierney. I can tell you that now. Kieran Tierney. It'll be Tomiyasu. And if Tomiyasu's injured, then it's going to be Kivior. It's not going to be Kieran Tierney for similar reasons. That one of the Kieran Tierney's main problems is that Kieran Tierney is everything that we we were taught to be at left back when we were kids.
Yeah.
Go down, like I said, bomb down the left wing, put in crosses, make sure you don't get overlapped, make sure you encourage your right winger to give you some help to protect the overlap, going straight. Kieran Tierney wasn't coached to play the inverted role. Manager like Arteta wants you to play inverted, and Arteta doesn't think he can't play inverted. So Tommy Ashley's
He's
going
going
to
to
play
leave. I
down
reckon
that way.
Tierney's going to go as well, don't they?
Oh, Tierney would be a pork chop if he stayed at Arsenal. I'm sorry. You weren't in a squad yesterday. You got 4 or 5. You got 4 players I can think of in front of you. Leave. You're not going to. Mikel Arteta does not need you in this squad. Kieran, if you're watching, just go. Have some dignity, mate. You got Euro 2024. With Scotland. You've got to make sure that you're in Steve Clarke's thinking. You've got to be playing regular football. You're not going to get at Arsenal. It's not happening. So that's where I would look at. That's going to be our back four. In terms of like the midfield, that's another conundrum because again, when we play Crystal Palace, it's one of the hardest games you ever play, especially at Selhurst Park. So you're going to have to play Partey, and you're going to have to play Declan Rice there, and you're going to have to play Odegaard, which means if you want, then you might have to play if you want to, you might have to play Havertz up top because if he feels that he wants to play his big signing, I can only see Havertz playing up top because you put him in the midfield. In that midfield at Selhurst Park, we're going to have to be dominating possession. But we not only do we have to be dominating possession, we've got to play with a high tempo and be able to deal with the physicality. I don't see Havertz playing that engine room, being able to deal with the physicality that Crystal Palace are going to bring to us. I can't see it happening, which means the best position would be up top, which means, again, I can't find a place for Trossard in that team because I can't leave out Martinelli and I can't leave out Saka. So, again, Trossard's on the bench for me. But you're going to have a situation is that you're still going to be having to carry our new signings. Not so much Declan Rice, but you definitely have to carry Havertz because they have to learn a job. But so we've got to have to negotiate a way of trying to win the game, but having to make sure that we get our new signings through the game, which is going to be really, really difficult because when we beat Crystal Palace at their ground, we always do it when we keep possession, but show intensity, not just in attacking sense, defensively as well. We show intensity and we're aggressive. If we don't show any intensity next Monday and we're not aggressive, that's smash us to pieces. We're going to have to go back to 2022. Lack of intensity, lack of aggression, they smashed us. Or the season where, Hector Bellerin made that mistake of getting the ball back for a throw-in in 2017. Lack of intensity, they smashed to pieces. Crystal Palace is one of those teams is that if you don't show any aggressiveness or intensity, they'll beat you. But in terms of team selection, you have to go back to that centre-half pairing of Saliba and Gabriel. You have to have the midfield with Rice and Partey.
There'd be a possession.
Do you think, Lee, as well? Like, I'd agree with that. I wanted to quickly touch on, before we go through the super chats, because we've got a few of them, I wanted to quickly touch on a couple of players, Lee. I'll get your thoughts on it. Declan Rice is the first one I wanted to talk about. And I made a comment yesterday on AFTV that I think we've got the best left winger in the league in Martinelli, and everyone come for me. Neutral fans, of course. Grealish is better. Rashford is better. Mitoma's better. Who else was there someone said was better? Oh, who was it? It's going to annoy me now. Alexander Isak was another one mentioned who played up front yesterday. He's more of a striker for me. And I love Isak, by the way. I think he's sick. I think we have. I stand by it. I think two of our wingers are two of the best in the league. I don't think there's many that, if you were saying now, sign two wingers in the Premier League, I think most people would put the money down for Saka and Martinelli. Because at 21 years old, I don't see anyone else doing what they're doing. So there's my 2 points for you, Lee. I'm going to put them into one question because we're running out of time. But Declan Rice's performance and Martinelli and Saka.
I was pleased with Declan Rice. Looks like a Rolls Royce. There's more to come. We know that, but that was a good, sound, solid Premier League debut for me. I like what I see. I'm with you on Martinelli. I wouldn't swap him for anybody. I wouldn't swap him for anybody. Because I tell you what, he's 22 now. There's more to come. The disrespect that he's starting to gets on my nerves. But then I think to myself, that's because people are jealous and all that. Like, it's not just his all-round play going forward, Dan. He loses the ball, he chases it back. There was a good part of the game yesterday when I don't know if you remember it, in the first half, he ran the ball out and the fella won it off of him. He was on the floor, right, behind the goal. We got up, sprinted to the halfway line.
Length of the pitch, yeah.
Just get a tackle in, like, you know what I mean? I love his intensity. He at times has to defend a lot more than Saka, because when you look at the right-hand side, if you look at it on Saka, it got roasted in the second half, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't get roasted when there's an inverted left back in there, when a Shinchenko's there or whatever, because Martinelli comes back and does his work rate and everything like that. Like, he might not, he doesn't get the freedom of Saka to a certain degree in that stage. You know what I mean? He has to put a shift in work way and all that. Like, he's a different player to Saka, as we know, as Kenny alluded to earlier on. But what he does is he stretches defences and he scares defences. I can tell you that, like, you know what I mean? Ask Kyle Walker, who's had his difficult opponent he's against. And it's all like, you know, I watched him not get beaten by anybody in the Champions League. I see in the Charity Shield, first time he get, you know, twice he took him on, twice he beat him. Like, you know what I mean? I know Walker's going to win some of them, but I don't see Walker getting beaten quite as easy as he does when he plays against Martinelli. So for me, Martinelli is someone that doesn't get the respect. Do you know what? I don't care what other people's teams think and all that. Like, I care what I see when I go in there week in, week out. Mikel knows it as well. Like, I'm a big Martinelli fan, and I'll make you right, Dan.
Listen, I love him, and you know, I was told that Isak and Grealish and Mitoma and Rashford, they're all better than him. Listen, I said we needed Isak. I would have 100% bought Isak, but at the time I was told we don't need him because we got Eddie. Look how that works out. I think personally, he is absolutely incredible, and I love everything about him. And do you know what? I go every single season I do this. I like Saka, I like Martinelli. I like Saka, I like Martinelli. If I can put them both on my shirt, I would. Honestly, I love the pair of them. And I think it's the first time that we've had that since Lundberg and Pires. It's been a very, very long time. Yeah. That's no disrespect to Walcott and Rosicky and Hleb and Arshavin and Nasri and all these great players you've had in the past. Alexis Sanchez, you know, for me, these two look absolute mustard, and I absolutely love it. Let's go through some of these super chats. I'm going to just throw them at the pair of you. We'll get through as many as we can in the time that we have left. I think we've got quite a few. Yeah, we should be fine. Zane has said, why didn't we go for This is a good point. Why didn't we go for Maddison over Havertz? Kenny, I'll put this one to you, right? Before I do, I said this. I said, I want James Maddison. Right at the start of the season, I said, I love James Maddison. I think he's a big quality. And I've had a bet with charity bet with Tom Canton that Maddison will get more GA than Havertz, right? And I stand by it. One game, two assists already. Yeah? 2 assists. Havertz is a few games in, and we ain't, in terms of the pre-season, we ain't seen enough of that yet. He's got a couple, I think, goals, a couple assists, and he looks mustard. And somebody asked me yesterday, would you rather have Fabio Vieira and Havertz for a combined 100 million or Moussa Diaby and James Maddison for a combined 80? And Moussa Diaby scored 4 goals for Villa now in pre-season, and yesterday got another one. Maddison, obviously, as I've just said, he at least scores 10 to 12 goals for Leicester every single season. And he's got 2 assists for Tottenham already. I would rather have them two. I would. And that's not me dissing Havertz and Vieira. I'm just speaking facts. That's my opinion. I think Diaby and Maddison would do a better job in this Arsenal squad than Havertz and Vieira. So what's your point on this one, man? Had Maddison over Havertz, Kenny?
Well, it's always going to be Maddison, because the simple reason is that is a player that we've coveted for the last 3 to 4 years. After especially after him in Vardy smashed us to pieces at that away game in 2019-2020 season. You know, it was always a player that we looked at. He's got creativity. He's got a goal threat. He had a fantastic season last season. You look at Havertz, you can only go by his Chelsea form. And, you know, he was signed by Chelsea because he was like a generational talent. He was a bit like, you know, Mesut Ozil. People said that they had big things to say about Havertz, but when you've got people who are saying, "Oh yeah, let's have a charity bet over the Havertz is gonna blossom over Maddison," let me tell you something now. If we didn't sign Havertz, and you asked Arsenal fans in May, Kai Havertz or Maddison, they would have said Maddison. I think people were showing loyalty to the manager, which is commendable. I think they're showing loyalty and probably got things that they might lose if they're critical of the football club. So they're going to be come out with standing arse and say Havertz. You know, it's a bit like the playground rubbish we used to have. Like, we all agree Arsenal is magic, Tottenham are tragic. You know, that thing I used to have in a playground at Christ the King in Tottenham Park. For the fact is that you ask any Arsenal fan, what plan does Mikel Arteta have Havertz? They wouldn't know. You've got Arsenal fans who never even watched him at Leverkusen. I did, but they didn't. Oh, when he was at Leverkusen, he had the best attacking stats. Oh, he could play in midfield. Really? So you're basically basing his Leverkusen form on the most recent form in Chelsea. That's fantastic. That's spectacular, mate. You know, the fact is that we know what Madison could do for a football club. We don't know how Havertz is going to play. We don't even know Havertz's best position. So I would go for James Madison over Havertz. And people say, well, why go for James Madison? You've got Odegaard. But guess what? I'm all for competition. If someone's a percentage better than what we got, that person plays. I'm in the results business. I want to win. I don't care about reputations. I'm not friends with the players. Get the best man in.
I will say this about Madison. I will say I think he's a good player, but you don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? He might have said, "Yeah, I'll come to the Arsenal, but where am I going to play? Well, you're going to be second fiddle to Odegaard." Let's be honest. Can Madison play up front like Havertz can? No. Can he play the left-sided position? I don't know. He's, you know, I like the position that he plays. I like and I think he is.
Initially though. Before we went for Odegaard, initially you would have, when you thought about a number 8 position, stroke number 10, you would have earmarked James Madison before you had Odegaard. So I suppose
100%. Dan did that. You know what I mean? I always thought that there was a player in Odegaard. And do you know what? I'm going to be really honest, and I think he'd be as good as what he is. I thought he was going to be good, but not as good as it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think with Havertz, maybe it's different. It's because he could play a couple of different roles. That's all I'm saying on that. Like, you know, but I watched Madison today, and he, you know what I mean? He is a class act in that same sort of role as Odegaard. And that's all I'm saying. If he can play in another, I think, to be honest, Madison could probably play as a wide player as well. I think he's played for England there a couple of times. So you could have actually used him as a in that backup for Odegaard, and maybe even a backup for Saka as well. Like, but would he have got into our Arsenal first team? Not for me, and that may be the reason what they didn't go for him. Like, you know, Havertz, I think, can play another couple of roles. Listen, the jury's got to be out on Havertz at the moment. It really has. I watched him yesterday. I thought he'd done some good stuff. Just slows the play down a little bit. I said that in my thing yesterday. He needs to up the tempo of his game a little bit. Like, if he can do that, I don't know. But at the moment, you know what I mean? Like, I thought Madison was very, very good today. Actually made Spurs a better side than that.
I have to say, I'm not going to start getting carried away, but I actually was quite impressed by Spurs today. It was their final third that let them down. I thought Bissouma looked class. Madison was quality. Thought that
midfield looked very good.
They did. Let's go to the next super chat. This one comes in from Sensi. It says, there's no difference in Thomas Partey playing the inverted right back or Zinchenko playing the inverted left back. We build in a 3-2 shape regardless. 3 centre-backs with a double pivot in front. Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't think it's the strongest formation for me. Thomas Partey playing as an inverted right back is not good enough for me.
I agree with that, but when we play... So when you're playing Zinchenko, does he play in centre midfield and dominate it? No. You know what I mean? Thomas Partey dominates our midfield. So you're taking out your best midfield player, which we said earlier on, and putting him at right back. Unnecessary. Don't need to do it. When you've got Timber that can do it, Ben White can do it. And what's that?
It's a great point that you got Tomiyasu, Ben White, Timber, and you're playing Partey at right back. What the hell's going on here? That's absolutely
you're playing Partey at right back. You're playing Partey at right back, so Declan Rice could play his position that he's been playing for virtually all his career, i.e. DM, and you're trying to fit Havertz in that midfield because initially. You know, when there was rumours that Thomas Partey was going to leave the football club, our midfield 3 was Havertz, Rice and Odegaard, which is completely ludicrous. You know what I mean? But you're right, and you got to remember when we play Zinchenko at inverted left back, we're playing Zinchenko not to dominate the midfield. We're playing Zinchenko to add another passing dimension onto our attack and give us some more bodies in midfield in an attacking sense. He's not there to, beat people up in midfield, protect the defence. He's there for a reason. I don't think the manager gives a rat's ass whether he can defend or not, because that Zinchenko in a team is about Arsenal being in possession, dominating possession, creating attacks from any part of the pitch. Hence the fact, the goalkeeper situation is a situation that he's got to look at now with Aaron Ramsdale. He wants to create chances from out the pitch. Look at Liverpool's first goal. You look at the goal they scored today. It started from Alisson, went down to Trent Alexander-Arnold, all the way down to Salah. He cuts in, puts the ball on a sixpence for Diaz, 1-0. Started from the goalkeeper. That's how the team's playing now. You have the distribution, start attacks from any part of the pitch. So Zinchenko does play in that team at the expense of defending, because big teams dominate possession.
Well, listen, Zinchenko might be back. You don't know, Zinchenko might be back for Palace. We don't actually know, do we? Let's see. Next super chat comes in from Highbury Ultra. Says, we're over-analysing Thomas Partey at right back. We won't see it often. Forest played a low block. We needed 6 attacking players to break them down. We built up in a 3-1-6, and Thomas Partey was a single pivot. Palace, he won't be there, guaranteed. And that's what we've discussed, Lee. We might actually change the team.
Thomas Partey will be back in midfield on Monday. I've got no doubt. Horses for courses. Listen, it was. I see what he was trying to do. It didn't work. It didn't work, in my opinion. He got lucky. I don't think he'll try it again. And listen, with Thomas Partey has played midfield, a holding midfield player for most of his career. What do you, or a centre half? What are your runs side to side? You're running 10 yards one way, 10 yards the other. You're in tight, compact spaces. When you're a fullback, you're making 30, 40-yard runs. That ain't doing his body no good, neither. So it's an experiment that I don't ever want to see again. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Let's bring this next one in from Sensi. He says, everyone's hyping up Nicholas Jackson today. Eddie would get slandered for that performance as an agenda. Eddie's goal scoring rate when he starts is better than Gabriel Jesus. Do you know what? There was a stat today that I saw. 14 goals in 16 starts at the Emirates for Eddie Nketiah. Fair play, he scores goals. I can't lie, he does. Who
put that stat up, man? Who put that stat up?
Oh, it was.
I know who put that stat up. I know who put that stat up. I'm not going to say. You know who put that stat up. It's someone close to both.
I can't remember who it was.
You know, Lee's laughing. I don't put that stat up.
No, I don't know.
That stat was put up by AFTV.
Oh,
that stat was put up by AFTV.
What was the stat? What was it? What was the stat?
About
Eddie's got 14 in 16 starts when he starts
games at Emirates. Yeah, but that's But you tend to do that a lot of times. Whenever someone like is a second choice or he's a backup striker, you always put them in a favourable light when you talk about when he starts games, he scores these amount of goals. But the situation is, when you look at across his all-round game, is Eddie Nketiah going to be the striker who's going to win us the league? Because look at
that's why I say Kenny.
They got someone who scored 52 goals last season who won them the lot, the treble. Eddie Nketiah.
I was alluding to this earlier on. That's my point, Kenny. You know what I mean? Like, he could, if he scored a goal a game, every game he gets 38 goals, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Stats do not tell
he won't get 38 goals for us, Lee. He won't.
My point being, when you look at that stat, if you were a stat man, you're going right. He's got to play every home game. That ain't. It's not about stats all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? Stats can look good in midfield. Look, listen. I had a joke with Kevin's boy the other week last season about an assist that he got. Right, he got the ball on the right hand side of the pitch. He played a 3-yard ball inside, right, and the bloke next smashed it from 35 yards into the top corner, right. Tyrese got an assist for that. It's not really, you know what I mean? He's touched the ball three yards and then it's been smashed in by a 35-yard rocket. You know what I mean?
Imagine Ozil did that, Lee.
So,
Ozil did that.
exactly. Tyrese laughed and he said it was the perfect weight for a 3-yard pass. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is, stats do not matter all the time, guys. You know what I mean? And that's what we're saying there, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think on that, Nicholas Jackson, I actually thought his movement was really good and impressive today. Did pretty much everything but score. And Eddie did get the goal, so fair play. Izzy says, everyone's saying we need a Haaland, yet we scored 88 goals last season. City also scored more the season before Haaland and got more points too. The stats don't lie. What I'll say about this one is, okay, we scored 88 goals last season. Imagine what we'd score with a 30-goal a season striker. That's what I'll say. Because a lot of people say we don't need to be better on 88. Yeah, we do. I also agree with what Izzy's saying. Defensively last season was actually our issue. And again, at the Emirates, Lee, no clean sheet again.
No,
I mean, when are we actually going to get... I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you this now, I am never going for a 2-0, 1-0, 3-0, 4-0 win again at the Emirates. It's not happening. We can't keep a clean sheet.
That is a bad
but that's something the manager's got to work on, isn't it? One of the things is, Lee, you made a great point in early in the show, and it wasn't picked up on, about when things are going well, you can still, like I said, analyse the game and still, look at areas where we didn't do well. One of the things that cost us the league last season is that at the turn of the calendar year, we weren't keeping clean sheets at the Emirates. The Bournemouth game was a mess. Aston Villa away was a mess. Even Crystal Palace and Leeds were a mess. But because we were winning, we didn't eradicate our problems. We were conceding clear-cut chances in games where it was going to come to a situation that was going to bite us up the arse, and it did. We never learnt from those mistakes we're making the games we're winning. And I think that's the situation is that it's carried on into the Forest game as well. Unless we do our jobs as, pundits on this show and eradicate the mistakes, and the manager knows his job, we're going to have a situation where we're going to hand the league to Man City again. You have to always look at what you do well, pat someone on the back. But if there's a situation where it could have cost you a game, you're still making errors, catastrophic errors, you can't always rely on Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard to get out of trouble. And I think that's what Arsenal need to learn as a team, is that the intensity and the defensive awareness has to be perfect, which means do not mess around with the defence. Let's not forget. Come back Izzy's points as well. Sorry about that.
No, I got pelts.
We scored 88 goals this season. It's because we scored four players scored 15 goals. That's not always going to be a situation. That's why you need a striker, because your striker can guarantee you 30 goals a season. You can't always rely on your other players to get you out of trouble.
Listen, I got pelted for that last season. We'd win 4-2 and people say, stop moaning because you can see the 2 goals and all that, because we won 4. I said it would come back on us. Our defending at home has got to be sorted out. Do you know what? In that first 15 minutes, do you know how much the percentage we had in the first 15 minutes of that game yesterday? 91%, right? And who had the first chance of the game? Nottingham Forest, when they went through.
Yeah, Brennan Johnson should have scored.
91%, and they had the first chance. So there needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. This next one comes in. Kenny Ken, absolute facts. There we go. This one comes in from David. Says these are signs that Arteta can't manage a big squad. Lee, let me put this one to you, because we spoke yesterday about the rotation and the selections and the squads and the substitutions, which were key yesterday. I do think, and we're only one game in, by the way, but this comes from last season. I understand there was injuries last season. I understand that individual errors happened. But a lot of why we didn't win the league was Arteta's in-game management, and it was poor in parts towards the back end of the season. This needs to improve for me, Lee. And I saw I saw Steve Cooper bringing in on subs like Nketiah and Chris Wood. They brought on that Awonye who scored the goal. You knew it was going to happen. They were going to lump it in the box and try and get a point. And I thought that the substitutions again yesterday, you've got 5 subs to make, by the way. And we've mentioned Saka being knackered. Havertz looked absolutely knackered because he was pressing. Eddie looked knackered. I sometimes think it's a little bit too late, is it, sometimes, with Mikel Arteta, Lee?
Listen, made a mistake yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and this is what I say about Mikel. You can, you know what I mean? You know, he's turned me around. I'm going to back him as much as I can. But when he makes mistakes, I'm going to say it how he was. He didn't react to those substitutions yesterday. It was too slow. The other thing is this. Listen, he's now going into a different brand of managing now. He's not managing a team. He's managing a squad now. I don't know how he's going to get on, if I'll be honest, because he's never done it before. If you think about when he become manager, first of all, we had no Europe. Then we've had Europa League where we've completely rotated the team. This is now a completely different kettle of fish. This is now where you've got players, whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong. But forget about the Thomas Partey one. If he wants to play Havertz in place of Trossard, or Trossard in place of Martinelli, or whatever, they're all the players are very, very similar in that ilk now. Like, so he has to manage that now. Now, when people turn around at me and say, "Can he manage it?" I don't know. We're about to find out because it's all new to him.
This is a big new thing for him, Kenny. Big new for him. He's got to rotate the squad. He's got to do what Pep does.
Well, I'll tell you one way you can, learn how to manage a big squad is take every cup competition seriously. I mean, if Arsenal want to call themselves a big club, he's got to win a trophy this season because he's had £680 million to spend in just 4 years. You know, all this, banal nonsense that we can't compete with Man City on a financial setting. We can compete with Man City. We've been doing it, behind the scenes for a long time. But this season, we've spent £105 million on a player, and he's been given massive financial support. So he has to learn how to manage a big squad because it's not a case of, I need to get the culture right and I need to get the age of the playing squad down. I need to get the budget down in terms of players earning. Right now, he needs to manage because you've got to remember one thing about Mikel Arteta, and I'm going to say it. I don't want to offend anyone, but you've got to be honest. This is all three men saying something. He was unlucky when we didn't get top four in 2022. He was unlucky when we didn't win the league last season. There isn't time for him to be 3 times unlucky next season. He has to deliver a trophy, no matter what. I'm going to say this to everyone in the chat and everyone, you guys. 4 years without a trophy, 20 years without the league, 30 years without winning in Europe. That's his in tray.
Listen, I think what you're saying there is spot on, and I've always said that this season there's no more excuses. He's got to deliver and win a trophy. Lee, you wanted to address a comment?
Yeah, it's just been winding me up today. Like, you know what I mean? It's a comment in the comment. I'm not going to go Arsenal maniac, but I just want to say he's actually put in. Well, a lot of people have said this. AFTV said Nketiah would be the best signing for Arsenal. It comes with drama. Eddie is better. There you go. There you know. AFTV talking rubbish. They work for the club. Puppets are for financial reward. AFTV, let's get this right. AFTV didn't say that. One fan said it. A fan said it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. AFTV haven't said that's the thing there. He actually also said that he had an agenda against Kai Havertz. AFTV haven't got an agenda against. It's just one fan saying it. I don't know why it's all got to be like put into that sort of thing. Like, it's really, really bugging me because like there was a lot of positive stuff yesterday. What I see from fan camps and fans around the not just on AFTV in the pubs and all that. Like, we're a little bit disappointed with what's gone on with the result, but basically the fan base is still positive despite not having a great performance yesterday. I am positive despite not having that performance yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? I still think Arsenal will do well this season. Like, you know what I mean? It just
Look, you don't have to defend yourself because simple reason is that one of the thing about whatever happens, right? Regardless, AFTV's got its detractors. It's got people who like it, people who don't like it, and they all got their reasons why. The genie's out of the bottle. AFTV is not going to be loved universally by Arsenal fans, but in terms of what you said about, how you still think that Arsenal are going to have a good season, you still want to win. There's nothing wrong with you getting up, analysing about what happened yesterday. Another thing as well, Lee. There is nothing wrong with you saying that you for you to demand success. Remember who you support. You support the third biggest club in the country. We've won. If you think about the major trophies you've won, and I don't even count the Community Shield or Charity Shield, we've won 14 FA Cups, 13 league titles, and we've won the League Cup twice, and then we won 2 European trophies. That is 31 titles. The only teams that won more than us are Man United and Liverpool. So we're third. Man United, Liverpool can fight over first, second place. And you've got to remember, you've got to keep on beating that drum, because what happens now, if you don't beat that drum and not say, demand success and say, we've got to win as a big club, you're going to have people, Arsenal fans, telling you that Man City and Chelsea are bigger than us, and they're not bigger than us.
No, 100%.
But if we do not continue to demand success and we don't win these trophies that I'm demanding, it's going to be a case where we can't defend ourselves. So keep on.
Yeah, listen, I'm not defending it. I'm not defending it. This is how I see it. If Arsenal and Arteta carry on with that same attitude and that same sort of remit for the season, we will not be successful. Right? If he continues to play party in the right back, we will get undone more times and we won't end up where we want to be. That's all I'm saying about that game. So dust it off. Don't worry about it. But learn from it. That doesn't matter that you've won that game. Doesn't matter that you've won. We got away with it. That's what I'm saying. We got away with it yesterday. Don't let it happen again.
Thanks, man. This one comes in from Tony CDB, who says, if other teams work out the inverted fullback, which will happen, we'll have lost the top traditional fullback if Tierney goes. I don't want to see Kieran Tierney go, but I'm with Kenny. I think he has to now, because if he looks at that team and says, I'm number 5 in the left-back area, you've got to go and play first-team football. There's rumours of Real Sociedad putting in a loan. I think we want him to be sold. It's good for me, Lee, to have different options, and he's a different dimension as a defender. He can actually defend, by the way.
I don't know. Does anybody know what was he at the squad for?
I think he's leaving.
Nothing's come out.
He's got to be leaving, in it. But the thing with Kieran's biggest problem is that top clubs in Europe, including the country, do not play the traditional full backs, especially at left back. So he's not going to get a game for a big club in Europe. 4 years ago, all day long, Kieran, you could earmark Kieran Tierney for a big club. Or is it a big club with Arsenal? You earmarked Kieran Tierney for the captaincy. You know, that wretched song that you like to sing. We all like Mick Tierney at the back, Gabby, and all that rubbish and all that.
Don't slag off that song, mate. You cannot do that, mate. I've done that enough.
I'll tell you one thing. It's just as bad as that North London Forever rubbish that they sing as well. I'm from North London. That ain't about Arsenal, North London. This is a North London here. That North London Forever song is pants. But anyway, that's another thing. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. But the fact is, Kieran Tierney cannot get in the Man United's team. He won't be able to get in Liverpool's team. He will not be able to play for Man City. He probably Newcastle. But if Newcastle get a foreign manager, he won't be able to play for them, because that is a new thing now, international thing, inverted fullbacks. They'll start. You know what I mean? That's how teams play nowadays. And I'm afraid Kieran Tierney cannot play for Arsenal. You want variety. You're not having variety. Arteta wants Arsenal to play the same way, be it the Champions League, FA Cup, or League Cup. Yeah, he can't get a game.
You're right, mate. I love Kieran Tierney. Arteta didn't sign him, unfortunately. I think. I'll tell you what, though, if Timber's out for a long time, which I hope he's not, and I haven't heard anything to say that he is or he isn't, I don't think we can sell Kieran Tierney, because Tommy Asu will be needed at right back if we get an injury there, and then at left back if we get an injury there. So I don't think we can sell him. I really don't. This is the last super chat, I'm being told. This is from 40 Side. It says, is there a player in the side that works harder than Martinelli? He gives his all every game, elite work rate. Does he get enough love from the fans? Let me finish on this one. I'll ask you both this to close. Every single fan, I always ask at the start of the season, who do you think will be player of the season? Saliba, Saka, Ødegaard, Saliba. Nobody said Martinelli once. Why do you think that is, Lee?
I don't know. I think he was in the top 3 when he last season of Player of the Year. I think I just think like Saka is everybody's favourite, like, because I think one, he's a great player, and two, he comes through the academy, right? I think that does help. I think Martin Odegaard, I think it's just performances last season were unbelievable and blows everywhere. But for me, Martinelli maybe is not quite at that level yet that he needs to be. I think he's very, very close to it. I think within a year, if he carries on going as if, everybody will be like going mad about him. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that the ceiling. I think the ceiling is so high with Martinelli that he's going to be a Brazilian superstar, which is not easy to do.
Yeah.
I think that he's will be a regular in the Brazilian squad and team, and he's going to be an Arsenal player that we'll look back at and go, wow. There you go.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with that, and I think it's I think it's fair. There is one super chat from Jamie Drummer saying maybe Trossard's issue, he was only second choice to Mudryk. The Mudryk thing, it's a bit harsh. I mean, I this Mudryk thing, I'm over, if I'm honest. And I love Trossard. I absolutely love Trossard. I think he's absolutely.
The good thing about it, right, is that we're in a situation at this football club where we can actually talk about players who can't get a game, who should get a game. We didn't have that when Arsene Wenger was at the in the club, or even under Emery. And that's where Arteta's going to earn his money. He has to be able to manage the brilliant footballers he's got at his disposal, and he has to manage them well, because if he doesn't, and he doesn't deliver, then we have to find someone else who can deliver these trophies. Because if you want us to, say collectively we're close to success, very, very close to success, but you know what happens in football, if you back someone, they have to deliver. You can't always be unlucky, and that's in his in trade now. His man management's got to be spot on, mate. He's got to make sure that players like Trossard do feel that they're going to get, contribute to us winning things. If he promises Trossard the Man United game, that he better make sure he plays that Man United game. Because if you don't deliver and get these guys, promise these guys and place in their team for a Pacific game, and you don't give them that place, that's when we have problems. That's going to be Arteta's biggest issue right now, is keeping everyone happy. But that's what you pay him for. He for a coach with zero management experience to get the Arsenal job, the third biggest club in the country. Well, you know what? It's time to deliver, mate.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, it is. We're going to leave it there. Absolute legends. Lee, always a pleasure. Kenny, thank you so much for coming on, man. Top man.
Enchanted. Love it. Hope I wasn't too controversial.
Of course you were, man. That's why we like getting you on, man, because you've got opinions, you speak facts, and you say what you think. And we'll try and get you on most Sundays now, 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Make sure you do us a favour, people. We're almost creeping towards 40k subs. Let's make sure that we can get there quickly.
You only have to switch channel 5 minutes, Lee.
It's getting up. It's creeping up towards it. Make sure you smash a like on this. Make sure you come follow Kenny Ken on Instagram and his content. You'll see him on plenty of platforms. Make sure you join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. You have myself, Lee Judges, Harry Simew and Graham Brooks talking all things Arsenal on the Same Old Gooners show. So make sure that you come over there and chat football with us and Arsenal with us. Until then, we'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy and up the Arsenal.
Up the
Arsenal.